the exporting community across the country, and a very soft-spoken, very sober person, but a hard taskmaster. My very dear friend and captain of India's exporting community, Mr. Saktivel, chairman of FIO. It may not sound like a mutual admiration society, but truly he brings so much enthusiasm to the table. Always bullish, always confident, proactive, and a man who has risen through his life, through very trying circumstances, and therefore somebody who's very connected with the roots, somebody who's seen it all, the architect or creator of the Tirupur entire textile ecosystem, and somebody I think who's rightly leading FIO, also a director in ECGC for the third time. Thank you for your leadership of the export community and continued the same enthusiasm. I won't tell them your age because nobody can otherwise figure out your age. My colleague in the Commerce Ministry, Mr. Vipul Bansal, he's equally enthusiastic, and his enthusiasm is youthful enthusiasm. He's bubbly with excitement. Every time I do a meeting with Vipul, he's a man in a hurry to perform, man in a hurry to do more. And that's what really I like most about him. In the lift, I was telling him he's sent in a file that he probably wants to try for a position in some international organization. I've threatened him, I'm going to reject that. There's no way I'm going to let you go. All the distinguished members of the ECGC family, captains of industry, exporters from different fields, friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Before I begin, I think I owe it to Senthil Nathan to felicitate him. I'm sure it's a matter of great joy for all of us as we see the new India unfurling before us. Some of you may have had a chance to visit Vanijya Bhavan. Vipul just mentioned it. Vanijya Bhavan also is just the beginning of how Indian government is going to look like across ministries in Delhi. In fact, this was started in 2018, the Vanijya Bhavan project, completed last year. Most of the work happened during COVID. And I can tell you, I've had visitors from all across the world and very senior ministers, prime ministers, that level of visitors from different countries coming over there. And everybody is amazed when they see Vanijya Bhavan. They just can't believe this is Indian government working from a premises as modern, yet architecturally very connected with India, with a stone facade and large workspaces, very efficient, totally digitalized building. And that is the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, that ultimately our workplace defines our work. Many of us who are in industry here We always keep our workplaces very smart, very modern. We believe that it reflects the quality and culture of our organization. All of us keep our home also very neat and clean, very organized. But somehow over the years, government never thought of modernizing itself, making it more contemporary. People would work for years in one office, and in that office you would have 10 different types of cupboards bought at different times, half of them rusted beyond repair. You would have chairs of various vintage, again some broken, some makeshift. And of course, when we talk of chairs, the beauty of government offices was the white towel. Am I right? We've all seen that. The white towel at the covering the chair. Initially, I thought it was some kind of an arrogance to reflect your position. And maybe in some cases it continues to be that way. But finally I realized it's to hide the chair. Otherwise the chair is in such bad shape. Tables run down, huge amount of folders, cardboard bag, tons of papers with a string tying them. And I don't know if you've noticed, ministers used to get those brown boxes with tons of files, which used to move with the minister if he had not cleared the files, or with the secretaries. And घर जा रहे हैं, वापस आ रहे हैं, बड़े बड़े डब्बे, बड़ा एक colonial system चलता था पूरा. साथ में 3 लड़के बड़े डब्बे लेके आ रहे हैं with full of files. Prime Minister Modi has given us this big vision for India at 100. As we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, 75 years of India's independence, we'll have to think afresh. What kind of a country are we going to evolve into in the next 25 years? What are we going to leave behind for the children? What legacy are we going to leave behind? What culture are we going to leave behind? Are they going to inherit what we inherited maybe 25, 30 years ago? Or are we going to give them a modern, contemporary India with which the youth of India can relate, which can give them the confidence and the pride in their nation, which India truly, richly deserves? And therefore, when Prime Minister Modi speaks about Panch Pran, I'm sure many of you, if not most of you, if not all of you, are now aware of the Panch Pran that he articulated on 15th August from the ramparts of the Red Fort, where he spoke about India becoming a developed nation by 2047 when we celebrate 100 years of independence. And he spoke about 4 other commitments that we all make collectively. A commitment to unshackle ourselves from our colonial past, remove all the vintage, all the remembrances or reminders of colonialism which has kept this country backward, which has kept our thinking backward for so many years, probably so many centuries. He also, in that same vein, spoke about going back to our roots, our rich culture, our rich tradition, our rich heritage, from which we have a lot to learn, a lot to be proud about. We got a reflection of that in the dance performance, the cultural performance, Ganesh Vandana, with which we rightly started this program. And that respect that comes out of our culture, our family value systems, our traditions, is something which will hold us in good stead as we are progressing towards a developed country. The fourth point he spoke about was the unity and integrity of India, which we all cherish very deeply. The fact that we are one nation, we are all one family. In fact, India goes even beyond that. When in G20 we talk of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world as one family. And clearly, if we all stay united, we all stay committed to making India a developed nation, and we all work with a sense of duty, the fifth pran, Kartavya Bhavna. If we all desire to make India a developed nation and are willing to pursue our dreams, our ambitions with a sense of duty, unshackling ourselves from the past, colonial heritage, yet rooting ourselves deeply in rich Indian tradition and culture, staying united as one nation, there's absolutely no power on earth that can stop India from its rightful place in the Committee of Nations as a developed nation, as a prosperous nation, where 140 crore Indians will enjoy the fruits of India's prosperity. And today, ECGC is joining the ranks of reflecting its true value systems, its true culture, its abilities, and showcasing to the world that ECGC can and will work for all of the things that are written above us, to empower your enterprise's expansion, to encourage exchange of business ideas, promote your ideas beyond boundaries, secure your business ambitions, all of the things that are written, instituting a healthy business environment, all of these goals that they have set for themselves are reflected today in this building that we have all joined to celebrate the inauguration of and celebrate the new India of 140 crore dreams, the new India which today the world recognizes as a global power. The world today is looking up to India as the bright spot in an otherwise very gloomy atmosphere. The new India, which today contributes hugely to global growth. The new India, which is the fastest growing economy amongst the large economies in the world and will continue to be so for several decades, if not for the rest of the century. The new India, which has huge managerial talent, which has capabilities beyond imagination, which has a youthful population, our demographic dividend which makes us so proud. New India, where every young child is aspiring for a better quality of life. A new India where we believe we will have to look at greater degree of international engagement, because no country in the world, friends, has become a developed nation without engaging in a big way in international trade. It could be import, it could be export. We'll have to build up that culture of an economy, of an ecosystem which can work with the best in the world from a position of strength with full self-confidence. And that is the new India of our dreams, about which Saktivel also mentioned when he said, we have achieved a record last year. We were hoping to do $400 billion of merchandise exports. We went up to $422 billion. We were hoping initially to do 25 billion of service export. Along the way, we realized we could go up to 250 billion. We landed up with 254 billion of service exports, collectively crossing $650 billion. Friends, we are in our 75th year of independence. And yesterday at the Raisina dialogue, and a dialogue which brought world leaders on one stage in Delhi, I was asked this question of what is India's export expected to look like this year. And I thought to myself that in this 75th year of independence, it is most appropriate that we should cross $750 billion this year. And given the huge work that all of you are doing and the support that ECGC is giving to all our export activities, with great responsibility and confidence, I am happy to share with you that figures until February 2023, that's 11 months, are already in excess of what we did in the whole of last year, and we will certainly close this year well in excess of $750 billion, another all-time historical record. Friends, ECGC has also evolved. If I may, with due apologies to you, sir, and to the organization, share my own experiences of the ECGC of the past. And we have a lot to learn from history. We must not mind when we talk about the past. We should learn from the past. In fact, when I was made Commerce and Industry Minister, the first thought that came to my mind was, there's media in the room, I don't know whether I can even describe the whole experience, but समझने वाले समझ जाएंगे और business वाले जो इस room में बैठे हैं वो तो जरूर समझ जाएंगे. The first time I went to Udyog Bhavan, which used to be Commerce Industries office before Vanijya Bhavan, first time I went to Udyog Bhavan was in the 90s, early 90s. I think it must have been 91, 92 or thereabouts. So nearly 30 odd years ago. वैसे तो कोई काम पड़ता नहीं था. My factory was in Mumbai. It was a small scale unit which I had started. And I don't mind sharing with you, I started it with a very small capital. 19,80,000 was the cost of the project when I started my life. I was only 18 or 19 at that time. And I had come right next door to the MIDC office. Is it somewhere here, right? Chakala? Yeah. I've shared it with friends before, so if somebody is hearing it again, please don't mind it. I had to do over 90 trips, 90. 90 times I had to come to MIDC Chakala to get a plot of land allotted of 2,930 square meters, less than 1 acre. Of course, my first trip तो बोला कोई जमीन ही नहीं है हमारे पास. वहां से करते करते जो भी करना पड़ता है किरीट भाई वो सब कुछ किया. जाके फाइनली लैंड भी मिल गया, लैंड निकल भी गया, किधर से निकला भगवान जाने, अलॉट भी हो गया, रजिस्टर भी हुआ, पर 93 टाइम्स मुझे जहां तक याद है, या 94 टाइम्स मैंने धक्के खाए थे यहाँ पे. ऐसे ही उद्योग भवन में पहली बार गया था क्योंकि वहां इंडियन बॉयलर रेगुलेटर का ऑफिस होता था, IBR. And if you needed to get permission as a well-known food shop, you needed to be inspected by the chief boiler inspector, if I remember the name correctly. I think anybody here from that line of business, he would know better, but I think he was called the chief boiler inspector. और अपॉइंटमेंट ही नहीं दे, हमारे एक्सपोर्ट्स अटक गए थे. ये इससे बता रहा हूं क्योंकि वो भी एक्सपोर्ट से लिंक था. And all my export products used to come out of furnaces. Being furnace, it came in the category of boiler using furnace oil. And therefore it required a visit from the chief boiler inspector. Worli office was not empowered to give the well-known food shop approval. So we went to Delhi to try and get an appointment for him to come here. The rest, for at least those who are in business, I don't need to describe or explain. But that was a shock for a person at that young age to experience. But then you learn the hard way. And I was mentioning all this in the context of my own experience with ECGC, where I had some default in one of the export consignments or export orders. Somebody had defaulted. Fortunately, amount was not very big, but I was a little idealistic in those days. I thought हमारा अधिकार है, हम इतना प्रीमियम पे करते हैं ECGC को हर बार, तो हमने भी एप्लीकेशन डाल दी फॉर गेटिंग अ क्लेम. काफी कुछ पत्र व्यवहार किया, letters went up and down. Then I realized that इससे काम नहीं चलेगा. Then I went to their office in Nariman Point, but I don't recall which of your offices. Who would have been 90s में कौन सा ऑफिस था आपका? एक्सप्रेस हाउस ही था. हाँ, तो उधर ही गया हूँ, अभी इतना याद नहीं है मुझे. अभी वहां पे भी धक्के खा लिए, बहुत कोशिश कर ली, ये पेपर लाओ, वो पेपर लाओ. अब असली पेपर क्या लाना हो मुझे समझ ही नहीं आ रहा था. And finally, I gave up. I don't know if you keep records that old, but we could probably locate that record. I gave up that claim. I thought it's easier not to go down that path, but rather to give it up. I'm sharing this with all of you because that's not the India that we want to live in and we want to leave for our children here. We want to leave them an India just completely corruption free. And whoever it may be, we'll have to be unsparing in our action against all those who indulge in any irregular activities. If we want to be a developed nation, if we are really looking to make India a superpower, if we really want to engage with the rest of the world, then collectively, all of us will have to take a call and make a decision that we want the new India to be with high degree of integrity, and it's a collective endeavor of both of us. People in industry, exporters, government, bodies like ECGC, Exim Bank, all the others, including our export promotion councils or FIO, we are all in it together. कोई भी कड़ी खराब होगी, the chain will spoil, the link will be broken. We in ECGC should be very conscious of tracking what is happening, transparency in our working, ease in operation, be helpful in our approach, convert as much as you can into online operations. In fact, if I was in your place, I would ban the entry of any exporter into any ECGC office. The moment you can do that, then I can hopefully close all your branch offices and run the entire show from a lean and mean organization at the head office, running online. You need to talk to any exporter, do a VC with him, and record that VC. Have no interface with exporters at all. Completely transparent operations, digitize it, trust the exporter, unless you have reasons not to trust somebody. And that pattern can be found out through artificial intelligence, through the track record. That can be quite easily figured out and judged. There are intelligent ways. After all, Bajaj Finance and all these successful NBFCs who are working at international class levels, they don't sit and do as much paperwork and as many offices as we have. And I would urge ECGC to relook at all your processes, engage with exporters. And I would urge Indian industry to make up your mind that come what may, you will not allow any irregular operations in the ministries. In the center, I can assure you, Government of India, there's absolutely no question of anybody wanting to do anything irregular. And if anybody does, we want you to become whistleblowers. We want you to talk about it. We want you to raise your voice. And in any organization that comes under us, we want you to help us completely clean up India's story to make it truly a story which the world should envy. And I think ECGC can do that. I must compliment ECGC for some of the innovative things that they've done. They've introduced a policy where exporters with credit limits up to 20 crores are covered up to 90% of their losses. It's for the first time. Earlier it used to be 60%, I think. 90% of the losses. I think you transparently now put out all the claims, pending claims, all of that data is all online. We will make it absolutely transparent. And we'd urge all of you also to take the benefit of the new way of working, the new schemes that ECGC is coming out with on this happy occasion of this beautiful building and truly world class. I mean, this building, this atrium, this sky lobby, what's it called? Skyline. It's all truly something which can make each one of us proud. Each one of us who are stakeholders with this organization. And on this happy occasion, with your permission, can I request you, Mr. Senthilnathan, that this 20 crore limit, move it to 40 crore and you'll be able to cover a far more number of people. So do your necessary board approvals or whatever it takes. And at the earliest, if you can move this 20 crore to all exporters who export, and this will almost cover all the MSME sector then. 40 crore export limits. You can have other limits, we don't mind. Export limit only you see, right? Somebody can have more than 40 crore overall limit, but export limits, whoever has up to 40 crores, we'll try to cover them up to 90%, save and except one or two sectors, I think. Yeah, one or two, this is for? Which sectors? ये लोग गाली देंगे, सामने ही बैठे हैं. Gems and jewelry and commodities are two sectors which are not yet under this expanded regime. But if they prove their mettle, if they follow some of the advice I've been giving them for a long time, then I think maybe at some time we can look at covering them also. But other sectors, engineering and agricultural produce, textiles, pharmaceuticals, all of you will be covered 90% for any potential risk or loss on the condition that you will reciprocate by ensuring full honesty and integrity in claims and in the way we work with ECGC. I've also asked them to call a meeting with all the bank senior officials so that I can talk to them about the interest rate structure that will be charged by the banks for all those who are getting up to 90% cover. So that gives the banks a great safety net and makes your loan a double A rated loan, if I remember correctly. It becomes a double A rated loan when 90% of the risk is covered by ECGC. So I hopefully, State Bank has reduced their interest rates. 4 banks have reduced their interest rates for all those who get a cover up to 90%. We'll try to do the same thing with the other banks. And gradually, We want all of you to start enjoying the fruits of working with ECGC. We want more exports to enjoy these benefits. We are currently covering about between 22 to 25% of our merchandise exports. I think we should aim to go up the ladder and go up to about 50% at least, so that almost all the MSMEs can start taking advantage of your schemes and the lower interest rate that they can enjoy with that. Large exporters very often may take a call or not to join the ECGC bandwagon, or some of them may be having their own self-insurance mechanism. I don't know how it works, but I would encourage more participants to enjoy the various schemes and offerings of ECGC. I would urge ECGC to see what more we can do to promote exports, how we can, with these fresh new beginnings, come up with new ideas and become an important stakeholder in India's journey at the first step to take our exports to $2 trillion by 2030, $1 trillion of services and $1 trillion of goods that I believe we can and we must achieve by 2030. And then we can set other goals for the future, aligning ourselves with the goal of a developed India, an India which will boast one of the largest GDPs anywhere in the world, an India that will truly once again become a Vishwaguru, a global power. And I'm very confident that each one of my friends sitting before me, the stakeholders of ECGC and export ecosystem, will be a great beneficiary and will enjoy the fruits of prosperity. As India prospers, as Indian businesses prosper, as Indian people prosper, I think the world will prosper. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, sir, for those words of wisdom that will truly help us revitalize our resolve in serving the community better. Thank you once again, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, with this absolutely beautiful crescendo, we have come to the tail end of the ceremony. I would now request Shri Sun